right, people. We are here to party hard, and we party hard by fixing bugs. How am I doing? I'm good. I'm good. I was up till 3 a.m. though because the chai had a lot of caffeine, I guess. I did do some programming. Like I tried to go to sleep. And then I was like listening to a podcast and I was like, if I'm going to be up this late, I might as well go program. So I did. And that was good. Got a thing done in the compiler. Have I done crack? No. Bye. You find yourself demotivated by the state of software and that the trend seems to be only getting worse. How do you deal? By believing that I should be able to make a positive contribution. That is a thing that human beings enjoy being able to do. Do I watch any Lex Friedman podcasts? Yeah, some of them. Curious as to whether testers have found a different class of bugs because of different coding style or something. There might be a little bit of that, but I think it's more that, you know, when people start using something, they don't exactly know how it's intended to be used, and so they'll do stuff that's a little weird, or they'll make mistakes that an experienced programmer in this language wouldn't make, right? And so those tend to bring up bugs that we didn't catch otherwise because, like, I know what to do, right? And so I don't tend to, you know, put the wrong thing in the wrong place or whatever, you know. Ever try the 1 meal a day diet? I do that sometimes. I mean, meal plus snack or whatever. I'm obviously not doing it right now with the Reese's Pieces. You like the one with Jim Keller? Yeah, I haven't seen that one, but I was at a conference earlier this year organized by Jim Keller, and so, you know, I kind of know his thoughts on processors at this point from that, and watching some of his other speeches. It's one of those things where programmers should not be the only testers of their software. That is true. Are beta testers sharing what they're using the language for? I think different people to various degrees. I'm sure there's a couple people who have streamed. I've heard about streams. I think it's up to people for saying what they're doing. I don't think it's my job to put words in their mouth about what they're doing. Have I always liked puzzle games? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. On paper puzzles, not as much. I do them sometimes. Or I do. Sometimes I'll play puzzle games that strongly resemble paper puzzles, but they're on computers. So like Alcazar was one of those. Or, I mean, Alcazar you could play on paper as well, but I played the iOS app a lot. Or there's a game on Steam called Everyday Genius Square Logic that I really enjoyed. I should play through that again. It's been many years. Why is the text so crisp? Well, it's very crisp on my end because it's 4K. On your end, it's being downsampled to 1080, but It might just be that the font size is large to begin with. I don't know. Am I planning to do more how-to documentation? Yes. Ever made a programming game? Not really. When I was in college, I did an implementation of Core Wars. It was just like a Core Wars interpreter and with like an X11 visualization of what the core memory looked like so you could watch things happen. That was cool. But that wasn't like a new, unique programming game. How do I plan on dealing with pointer aliasing? We have fewer opportunities for pointer aliasing than C++ does. Aside from that, we're just going to have to see. We have some things on the list, but look, I'm generally not going to answer any questions mostly. If you ask me a question, what do I think of blah, or what is my opinion on blah, I'm not going to answer that. Sorry. It's just, please stop asking that kind of question. I just get it a lot, and it's not only, there's two problems. One is those are the same questions that everyone asks every day all the time, and I will go insane and not get anything done if I repeat myself. And secondly, they're just kind of content-free questions. Like, why do you care what I think about something generally? What does that generate except for more of this internet X said about what Y said about what Z said stuff that we need way less of, you know? What is the current status of the language? It's in closed beta. You haven't seen any video update? Yeah, that's because I got tired of doing them because I didn't like the way some people were using them. Have I played Valorant? No, I will not, probably. Okay, so I've got in this file a bunch of bugs. It's probably 9 or 10 of them. Just repro cases that people emailed. And we might get through all of them. We might not. Some of them might be easy. Some might be hard. Some might be things we defer until later. What I want to do is sort of, my goal is to minimize the number of bugs, right? Just blast through and minimize the number of bugs. Number one here happens to be an LLVM backend bug, which is, so here's what happens, right? It's trying to put something into this data segment that is a type. Like, I think if I put this in the function, it's fine. Yeah. So it's literally something about putting a type into a data segment it doesn't understand. And I don't think it probably has to be this. I could probably say pointer to S64, right? No, that actually works. Huh. Right? Like, what about that? Okay, that doesn't work. So maybe it handles pointers but not arrays. Like maybe that case was just not there. What about procedures? Like what if I go that? Okay, it doesn't like that either. So there are certain classes of types that it doesn't handle, but there are certain ones that it does. Like what if I do a pointer to this? Doesn't like that either. Okay. But what if it's pointer to string? It does like that. I do not understand what's going on. Right? It's generating the correct value. Dude, okay, we're going to have to look at this. I may defer it to somebody else who has more experience in that back end if we cannot figure it out, but we will try to figure it out. Is it because the struct is empty? No, it shouldn't be. I mean, the fact that these didn't work are a clue that it's not anything to do with the struct being empty. In fact, this repro case was emailed to me and it was cut down to make a minimal repro. This probably came from a program that had stuff in that struct. So, yeah, okay. So we're just going to go, okay, well, we need to make it crash again before we try to repro the crash. Okay, so this worked. This didn't work. Does this work? Okay, that doesn't. So that's very simple. It doesn't have anything to do with the array. Let's put something in here. Right, that shouldn't matter. Yeah, okay. So we're trying to get a bit cast to something, to the wrong thing somehow. Okay, let me delete all my breakpoints because those are making us slow. Operator subscript. Type table entries. Index within type table is -1. Index within runtime type table. That is a front-end bug. That is not an LLVM bug, I think. Yes, because this is a, yeah. So really it's a bug that the x64 backend is doing this wrong. Okay, so the problem is the following. The reason why it works for some types and not others is that some of these types get referenced naturally at other places in the program, like maybe in BASIC or whatever. Like pointer to string, somebody's using that type, right? Pointer to S64, similarly, someone in BASIC uses that or something, okay? When you use a type, there's a bunch of types that you might use at compile time, right? Including polymorphic types and all that. And your metaprogram wants to know all the information about that stuff. But when you generate the type table for runtime, we only want to put the types in there that you actually refer to, right? We only want to put the types in there that that your program will access at runtime, right? Not only just to keep the type table small, but also, you know, maybe give people less information about your program and stuff if they reverse engineer the type table. So, what does that mean? Well, whenever we call type info, for example, we do this thing where we register that type. We say, hey, this type is a value that is being used at runtime. Apparently, I forget to do that for global variables, and that is the bug. So we want to assert here. So I'm glad it's not actually an LLVM bug because, again, I don't have that much history on the LLVM backend. So that might be more painful to deal with. And then the bug also is that the x64 backend doesn't notice this. So there should be Oh, we don't even... get segment patch value. How do I do this? Do I do it differently? It's... I think maybe we're just not supposed to do anything. Like, this might be outdated. Let me see. Actually. Because for a type definition, okay, wait. I don't know, man. This actually is an LLVM problem, maybe. So this is called when we apply these patches to the data segment. So we have a patch for it. Okay. So that won't be called the same thing. I just want to look up how it's called and from where. Okay, so this is the patches on the data segment struct, on the pristine data segment. Okay. Is that in here? Okay. Oh, this is like debugging. Maybe, maybe not. This looks pretty different from... Okay, if it's a literal, if it's a type definition handled in the next loop. So this is adding data. This is actually putting data. And then we do string literals. We do this stuff. Okay, there we go. Relocations. Where is this? Okay, data type definition is here. Okay, so where were we? So here we're getting index within runtime type table. And here we're looking at type table packer base address. Okay, this kind of sucks. I mean, I guess it's fine. We're just doing two different things here, and that makes me nervous. Here, I'm just saying, what's the offset of this packed thing in this packed array? And this is like, returning the index. This is not. I don't like it. All right, let me just make sure that the x64 thing is working. Refactoring time, maybe. I don't want to do a heavy refactoring of the LLVM backend right now if the problem is not there. I may not like the way it's doing something, but I also don't necessarily, there might be a good reason why it's doing it that way that's different that I don't understand. Of course, then I would wish it was commented why that was necessary. But like, there might be reasons for that. So if I go tearing it up and doing it a different way, I might discover, oh, whoops. So we'll see. We might end up going down that road. For now, let me look. So this defaults to -1. We're just going to assert that this is not -1. All right. And then we're going to run this on x64 backend. There we go. Okay. So there is definitely at least a front end problem. I'm going to assume that the LLVM backend will do the right thing if I actually do this. So what's interesting is this would compile in x64, but it wouldn't have worked. Right. So if I go comment out this assert, and if I go back to our program and I say, well, this one, right? So this one here, it asserts in LLVM. It doesn't assert in x64. Oh, well, I have to recompile because we took that out. Okay, it asserts in LLVM. It doesn't assert in x64, but if I run it, well, see, now it's interesting that print is not trying to print the whole type because it just doesn't do that sometimes. I think if we tried to print the whole type, we would probably crash. Or maybe that's why it's saying some type right now, is because, like, let's try like this. And then what if I put it down here? Okay, that is what's happening. It's like it's actually outputting an invalid type, which is why print can't decode it. But if I put it locally, then it's fine, right? And the reason is just when I output this locally as an expression, I think we do that. So I need to figure out what we call to do that and then make it work. Okay, so let's turn this back on. What was the LLVM one again? Well, look at this. Index within runtime type table. Okay. So gather sets that. Or note runtime reference type. That's what we want. Gather is a recursive thing that happens later where we start. So this is basically, it's kind of like garbage collection almost, where if there's a type that someone's going to use at runtime, you know that. But then, you know, somebody could write code that arbitrarily recurses down to any type that that type references. So you have to kind of do this recursive flood fill. And so that's what gather does. And this is what notes the root. And so we have to find where this is not being done, which I could tell you right away. It's in the thing that puts things in the root. Okay, to global data. There's this copy to global data functions. It's like copy expression to global data. There we go. So, enum literal, type instantiation, type definition. We're doing all this stuff. Look what we're not doing. We're not calling this. How's my throat feeling, by the way? Fine. Yeah, I'm good. Hey, check it out, bro. That's LLVM backend. That's x64 backend. Let's go to the original bug. Do its pointer to my struct. There we go. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Cool. What was the bug? It was that the code was incorrect. You're right, it was array of one my struct. It's going to work anyway. Whoops. It was this originally. In fact, I think there was no space. Let's be very pedantic about it. All right. Great. Great. We have just built release build. We're gonna run tests. We're gonna run the game. Boom. Okay, this is great. So that was the bug that I was the most scared of looking at this list. Now that might be me being naive. Actually, this one's kind of scary. But yeah, check that off. We'll go into changelog. Fixed errors occurring when global declarations had values corresponding to types that were not used elsewhere in the program. No one's going to know what that means. That's fine. Look at all this stuff we did, bro. Look, it's crazy. It's getting longer. This is going to have many more lines before this stream is done. Okay. Yeah, so the bug was, we need to make this type table at runtime. I'll again summarize. We need to make a type table at runtime for you to do all the cool introspection stuff, right? But that's much smaller maybe than the type table at compile time, because the compile time type table has information for stuff that can't exist at runtime, like polymorphic types and whatever that you might care about. And so we cull all the other stuff, or we select out of the compile time type table the things that you could ever possibly use at runtime. And something was missing from that in the case of a global declaration that had a value that was a type. Yeah. So that was that. Gains, yeah, we made gains. Do I allow beta testers to publish their code? Sure. Yeah, people could do whatever they want. People could do whatever they want. All right. Next, I kind of want to skip this one because this one could be scary. This one is that you're not actually allowed to overload operator equal, I don't think. Let's not do this one yet, because this one may just mean, you know what, let's make equal work for structs, which it currently doesn't. The thing is, making equal work for structs is a little bit annoying for reasons we may talk about. Let's just pick out the easy ones. Yeah, let's take a look at this. This is an error message improvement. That's nice and lazy, right? So I had to add a semicolon. Wait. What? Oh, I see. Right. Okay, let me just see what happens when I compile it. This is not a very good explanation, unfortunately. Okay. So what's going on here is, you know, this kind of should be this, right? Okay. Just put a main. Great. So the error message is correct. It just doesn't really help anyone, especially a beginner, right? I mean, it's better than a C++ error message usually, but it's still not good. So we want to say some things. We want to say this is in the type slot of a declaration, not the value slot. Did you forget a colon? We want to say what the thing is that we got. Right? Something else is not very informative. We want to say, well, we expected a type, but we got blah, blah, blah. No, you can make arbitrary operators. It's just there's a couple that we don't allow you to overload. One of them is operator equal. Okay, you definitely can't overload equal for assignment. The question is, do I let you overload operator double equal? And the answer is probably not. Is workspace namespace? No, a workspace is a different thing. There's a demo on YouTube that explains workspaces. If I quit the game industry, would I create a software company, join a big tech company, or retire? I would not. I mean, I already have a software company, so I would just change it to not be games if it was option one. Two, joining a big tech company, almost certainly no, because they're all terrible. The only reason I would do that is if for some reason somebody there put me in charge of something like a project that was very interesting and where I had total freedom and with a much bigger budget than I could put together now. Which honestly, I don't even know how big of a budget I could put together now. Like, it would have to be, I mean, let's say I would start thinking about it at $100 million of budget. But, and the reason is just, if it's less than that, look, I have a good shot at getting that kind of funding. Like, I don't have that kind of money in the bank, like $20 million or something, but can I go get $20 million from venture capitalists for a good idea that I've already kickstarted myself and put the first $1 or $2 million into? Yeah, probably. Like, if it doesn't fail, right? And if it looks good. So why would I go to a big tech company instead of doing that, right? What was option three? Retire. I mean, what would I do if I retire? It doesn't make sense. And so that big company scenario that I mentioned of, hey, we're going to give you $100+ million to run this project. And by the way, you know, when the VP gets replaced in 2 years for political reasons, the new VP might cancel your thing. That's not so good, right? And honestly, if I wanted to do a $100 million project of some kind, the most likely route to that is to make a game that has a high sales potential, right? So most of the games we make are single player puzzle games, which, you know, as good of a game as they are, that's just not a genre that's top selling, right? So if we made something that's top selling, you know, like RimWorld or something, like that kind of a genre has a much higher ceiling, or first person shooter or whatever, right? Then maybe we could make $100 million, right? On the one hand, that sounds high. On the other hand, that's only like 1/50th of what Minecraft has made at this point, right? So like, you have to, okay. It is very helpful in this world to treat yourself as a high agency individual for which many things are possible. And if you stop your line of thinking at, do I go to a tech company and get a job, like a line cook job at a tech company, or do I work on my small indie game that's never going to be that big? That's a very limiting thought process, right? Very limiting. Would I go to a large tech company if I were in charge of firing everybody? Now that makes it tempting. That, I might do that for free. Any interest in working at Tesla? Not really. I mean, what would I do there? I don't think there's anything for me to do at Tesla. SpaceX, I don't think there's that much for me to do at SpaceX. Which isn't to say that those aren't perfectly good jobs for people. It's just for my particular skill set, I'm not sure I'm the best person for any of those jobs as opposed to somebody else. What about new operating system? Maybe. The problem is a new operating system almost can't have that much money behind it because you need to be willing to do the right thing for a while, irrespective of commercial application. And then once you get to a good point in that, then you can think about commercial application. And that initial period needs to be protected. And the more money is behind it, the less likely that is. That's universal. Just join those Chalon Urbit weirdos. I'm not a crypto anarchist. I don't believe in the whole Bitcoin decentralized thing. That's just not my bag. I think that a competent, coordinated, centralized body will defeat an uncoordinated, decentralized body every time, which is why, by the way, nobody uses Linux on the desktop. That's an example, right? Like, it's the same thing, right? It's the same, like, Bitcoin will not be a strong currency relative to a competently backed state-based currency. That's just not a thing. Bitcoin isn't really a currency, though. Okay, whatever. It has coin in the name, guy. Anyway, Linux on the desktop might eventually win just because Windows is doing everything in its power to make itself as terrible as possible. I don't even understand. It's so bad now. At some point, Linux has to start winning again, but oh man. Wait, did Ubuntu 20.04 come out? Or were they coronavirus? Oh, I guess that came out. So, oh God, I hate that. Okay. I'm sure it's radically better than Ubuntu 16.04 or whatever, 18, whatever the last one was. I'm sure it's so much different, it's going to blow me away. It now comes with dark mode technology. Awesome. Does the Sokoban game run on Linux? In principle, it does. In practice, there might be a few things that we haven't ported. Okay, let's get back to work here. We're knocking bugs off the bug list. Expected got something else. Let's fix that part. Okay. Auto type name is type to string. I'm not supposed to use expr inferred type like this. I'm just going to do this and shorten it up a bit. Okay. I expected it's constant type here, but got an expression of type whatever type name. Okay, that's already, oh, already a win. Already a win. Whoops, I messed it up. Right, I took away these semicolons. It's debatable whether we should need those semicolons. I took them away reflexively and that was wrong. Okay. Got an expression of type anonymous struct, right? So that at least helps. That's still confusing for a new person, but it's better than something else, right? Print where it was declared. Well, okay, so for a lot of types, that would not be helpful, but for structs it would. So we can do that specifically, right? So if it's a pointer to a struct or a struct, right, we could say report info desk. Here is the site where this struct is declared, right? Here's the declaration of this struct. Okay, we're getting a little more information in there. It's still not enough. Here's a declaration of this struct. Okay. We can go full on about the struct helping case, because this seems like a relatively common case that many people may have, right? If it doesn't have a name, so the problem is I can't tell if it's inside a declaration or not. This is actually a second order. Let's not worry about this one yet. Let's just say okay. In the type slot of a declaration, we expect a constant type. So instead of here, we're saying in the type slot of a declaration, we require a constant type. We need a constant type. But we got an expression. Okay, just getting a little more specific. Okay, and then down here we can say report info if, see, we can't see, the problem is we can't see up in the syntax tree. We might want to add ways to see upward in the syntax tree later if it'll help more with error messages, but for now we're just going to say a common reason for this error a common cause of this error is forgetting a colon or equal in the declaration. Thus putting the thing you meant to land in the expression slot into the type slot. For example, saying x colon 7 instead of x colon 7 or x colon equals 7, right? Something like that. We're just helping people out. Now, this might actually be a little bit stupid. We actually don't. Let's just do this. Okay. So the reason this error message might be unhelpful because they might have had an expression slot in the declaration, but more often than not, this will help. Why am I printing where the struct is declared instead of where A is declared? It shouldn't matter what A's type is, just that it's not type. You're thinking too much about this specific case, all right? Like, that doesn't have to be A. Like I just said, this could be like 7, right? There's no declaration. So if you mean in the specific case that it's a struct, I mean, the thing is, this could be an arbitrarily complex expression that evaluates to a struct type. This could be a bananas expression that's half a page long for all you know. There's no guarantee that you're going to have an identifier to look up. So, you know, here is declaration of this. Oh. Okay. Now, it is true that we could drill down into many specific cases because this is, okay, so if we wanted to go for just this specific case, we could add more and more stuff. It's just at some point the error message is good enough, and if you add more, it's kind of adding long-term liability that makes us more inflexible and harder to change the compiler. So we'll see. But I'm going to claim that's a good enough error message for now, but we'll see. Like maybe the beta people will have problems with that still. I don't know. Improved the error message that happens when you put a non-type expression into the type slot of a declaration. Boom. Okay. Let's kind of sort these down to the bottom. Oh, another better error message. Okay. Needs a better error. Let's see what the error is. Oh, let's check in what we have so far. Improved error message. Oh, I didn't check in the fix for the other thing. Fix handling of type definitions in global data. Boom. What about link time optimizations? Link time optimizations are just regular optimizations that you're forced to do in the linker because you can't see all this code, how it calls each other until the linker, right? If you just did those in the compiler, your whole system would be way simpler and faster and work better because you'd have one set of optimizations that all run at the same time, okay? Instead of waiting till later. So again, the idea that link time optimizations are good, a good idea, is like a Stockholm syndrome being imposed by the fact that you have all these tiny compilation units that can't see each other. If you get rid of that idea, then the idea of link time optimization is silly. It doesn't mean anything. Would I consider putting common causes, some file with common causes for error messages? I would consider that. I'd also consider just putting a web link as well. I don't know. Do we have separate compilation? What does separate compilation mean? Do you mean like C? No. I mean, you can do it yourself. You can make it happen yourself with a metaprogram, but it's not the default way that the compiler operates. You mean like linking to a static lib that's written in another language? Wouldn't link time optimizations make sense? I mean, they don't work that well. So why do you, like, the proportion of your code that is written in another language that's in a static library shouldn't be that big, hopefully. B, the amount of your total program speed that, okay, so here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. There's two things being conflated, right? There's using a static library like you're talking about, and there's the fact that that library itself and your main programmer itself are a ton of little .o files, right? And link time optimization, as currently used, is doing both of those, right? It's doing .o files with .o files within each large module, and then connecting the large modules to each other. If you pretend you didn't have all these tiny .o files, if you imagine that each of those things, the library and the main program, was one .o file to begin with, then the only thing that the link time optimization would be providing you is optimizations across the boundary between the main program and the library, of which I claim you have to get very contrived cases before that starts to matter performance-wise. Because usually you're doing, you know, relatively heavyweight operations into an API, right? If you're calling a tiny function millions of times in a tight loop through an API boundary into a static library, that's like bad design anyway, right? So, so that's the thing is, well, and then so all the complexity and engineering that's going into making that link time optimization work and all the constraints it imposes on the rest of the compiler is taking away effort that would have gone into regular optimization. So your regular optimization is actually slower than it would be because all this effort is being put into this other thing. It's a complete disaster, honestly. It's a complete disaster. LTO enables pointer analysis on the whole program. Yeah, how often is that actually going to work? Again, you're only talking about alias analysis across the initial API boundary from when you call into a library. It's not that much. It's not going to help that much, especially because alias analysis isn't, very often fails anyway. It's just not buying you anything. Don't do it. It's a tremendous amount of complexity for essentially no benefit. It's a giant waste of time. LTO doesn't work cross-compiler anyway because it depends on compiler-specific metadata. Yeah, I mean, dude, there's all sorts of reasons it's a bad idea. They underestimate how bad other people's APIs are. Yeah, well, if that's the case, then it'll be much faster. It'll get you much more performance to fix the API, right? Than to do LTO. When using equal instructs, the right-hand side of the equal must evaluate to a constant, but this does not. I don't know. I mean, maybe I already fixed this one. This doesn't seem that bad to me. I mean, I'm okay with this. I don't remember. I'm not sure that what else that I can say. Without again going into a tons of special cases thing. I can say why. I can say the reason why is because this isn't imperative code. I mean, I guess we could try that. And instead of evaluate to a constant, we could just say must be a constant. Must be a constant, but this one isn't. Okay. Report info. No label. The reason is statements in structs are pure data. They do not evaluate in any specific order the way procedures do. And then you can use run to evaluate a non-constant expression at compile time, converting it into a constant that you can use here. But only do this if you know what it means and if it makes sense. I mean, I'm hoping I don't get too condescending in the error message, but like, you want to help beginners out. Okay. So we're sort of saying all this twice. Maybe that's fine. The thing is, in this case, you don't actually want to put a run there. It's not, or, you know. Could add a noob flag? Yeah, that could be a thing. All right. We're just going to do this for now. Let's just build everything. It's very unlikely that we broke something, but let's try it. Let's just do our tests. Just making sure that we're staying sane. What sort of error do I print if someone has int x? I don't know if we're going that newbie. Let's see what happens. The thing is that sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it's not that easy for the parser to know it's int x, right? Like, let's just see what semicolon expected after expression. Yeah, that is not a very good error message. Let's put that one down, because I want to fix the official bugs. But we're going to put that one. Make a better error message for that. The other problem is, because this happens at parse time, we don't even know if that's a type. We could guess if it's a type. Again, we could like assume and make an ass out of you and me. Okay. So if I just do this, so this should be, okay, this part is wrong. The R value type here is incorrect. All right. Well, right, but of course all this isn't in a comment, so yeah, okay. Trying to fit, can't do this without an explicit cast, can't do this without an explicit cast. And so we need to break where this happens. So we do the type check. Where is this? Infer types for a declaration. Okay, that makes sense. String left, string right. String right is We need to look at this. What is expression pointer? It's the address of the expression slot. So we have expr-defn. The reason we're taking the pointer is because type checking why are we doing that? Yeah, because type checking can put something in that slot. Like a cast. Type checking could put an implicit cast in there. Okay. So let's just break there now. So what is expr-defn versus inferred type of this? Okay, they are different. And the reason they are different is because I think type checking inserted a cast. Let's see. This is a 32-bit, yeah. It's a literal. Oh, but the literal got... Right. I think maybe so what we do, so with literals, let's take a look at the struct. With literals, we let them get cast to things, and we do that by poking a slot on the literal, this number cast hardened type. We probably shouldn't do that if it doesn't match. So let's go back to like, can't do this without an implicit cast. So by the time we get here, we have already done the thing. And so maybe we shouldn't do the thing. Oh boy. Okay, no, it's not set yet. So we are actually saying this. Okay, down here. if we reported an error, we will report continuation below. In that case, do not substitute the, what is this giant dotted line down there? Yuck. Do not substitute the, okay. Let's just put this up here. Do not change type if error. Do not change expression. Type if error. Do not substitute the type on the expression because we want to know what it was in the ... to correctly report. Okay. Gonna do this. And then this. This is, this editor's terrible. This is not the maybe the best way to do this, but it is what it is. Okay. Debug build, debug. There we go. Okay. This has a higher probability of having broken something for various reasons. So let's test that again. Any questions about what we're doing? On topic questions, not joke questions. Can't you assign values to variables of struct types that you define in a function? Sure. Yeah, but you can't make a type be something that is not a type. How error tolerant is the parser now? It's pretty error tolerant. That's making your parser be error tolerant is not very hard compared to other things that you have to do in a compiler. Okay. Did we document in the changelog that last error message? I don't think we did. Improved the error message that happens. Okay, what did we just do? Fixed incorrect type reporting in the error message that happens when you try to assign a declaration to a value that would incur a loss of information, e.g. See, like putting an example, like you read this, and I'm trying to explain it well, and it's just still kind of word salad, especially if you're not that experienced in this language. So you just put an example, and people are like, oh, right? This is a technique that documentation people very rarely do, and it's so powerful. Just put a frickin' example. And then I could explain it even more, that it would incur loss of information because it's 32 bits in the type and 64 in the value, but, you know. Okay, so what did we do before this? Improve the error message that happens when you try to use a non-constant expression inside a struct initializer assignment. I won't put an EG for that because it would be several lines because you'd have to declare the struct and stuff. We're starting to stack up in terms of change list here. This one was 10 days from, or 8 days. This one was 10 days from 18th to 20. No, 2 days. Oh, this was 2 months. I was looking at that. I'm like, what? 2 months, 8 days. So far, this has been 5 days for this. But that's partially because there was a lot of gruesome internal stuff here. Why am I keeping a change log? So that people in the beta will know what happened, right? So when you get the beta, this file is in there and you can see what's new. And then if you skip the last couple betas or whatever, you could see what's been done. Like, wouldn't you want to know this information if you were in the beta? I'm trying to decide if I want to go for iced tea or hot tea. Okay. Done. Oh, and this was that one, so that's done. Did we actually check that one in? I think we did. Oh, we don't need to update the change log yet. That'll happen. Okay. This one is a little bit scary. Let's see what happens. Anything involving modify starts to get scary. I might have fixed this already, though, because I've done some stuff this week. Like that stuff we were fixing yesterday was probably relevant to this. Let's see. Can't have a declaration with neither type nor value on the modify. That doesn't seem right. Can't have a declaration with neither type nor value. Okay, if I'm a user, this error message might be correct, it might not be correct. The question is, if I'm a user, can I use this declaration or this error message to figure out what's wrong? It seems to be talking about this modify directive. Okay, what about it? What's the problem? I mean, honestly, this doesn't look wrong to me. So I suspect, let's try not calling this. Maybe the error goes away. Nope. Interesting. I mean, we'll leave that commented because we want to bring it back to test the full test, but can't have a declaration with neither type nor value. Why? Most of our modified directives work. Okay. This is called ignore unknown. Okay, so I think maybe the problem is actually, no. So there's something about having a modify and a default value. Like if so that should still generate the problem, right? No. Wait, what? It's literally just if it's colon equals. Oh, because it's not seeing the value. Okay. What's happening is when we're doing, oh God. Okay. This is maybe not that easy. When we're going to do this modify, what is a modify? Well, it lets you change the values of the polymorph variables. How do we do that? Well, we put them in the constants block, and then we let you change the values in the constants block. We do that by like copying the declaration. And the problem is, if we got the type from the value instead of from the type slot, the modify, what it's doing, doesn't understand that. That is non-trivial. It really doesn't depend on any of this stuff. So like, that is non-trivial, but important. So even if it takes some time to do, we really should get this one. Look at all these errors. How many lines of errors do we have? 200 lines. Oh my God, they just add up. Okay. Fortunately, a couple of them are long. This one's really long. Okay. That primer link, I don't like it. Even when it was written, it was not right in the sense that it was up to date when it was written, but like it didn't correctly. It talks about some relatively unimportant things as being the main ideas behind the language, which discounts the actual main ideas behind the language and the ways in which they're important and the ways in which they improve programming. So that's why I don't like that. I wish people would, you know, of course, I didn't write anything to take its place, so that's kind of my fault. But what's Modify used for? You can watch some YouTube videos in the playlist to find out. It's not the dude's fault. He was just enthusiastic about it and wanted to write something. It's just, I don't think it's a good representation of the language, but I also haven't gone through the effort of writing something that's better. So, you know, it's my fault. Is visual complex analysis good? I know linear algebra done right is good. Can't I ask the owner of that document to take it down? Why, right? I mean, he's just contributing something. Like, I should just write something better, but I don't, so. Something like ownership pointers in here. No, I talked about that idea early on, but the actual fact is memory ownership makes you slow. You don't want your program to be allocating and deallocating heap stuff, for example, all the time anyway. So just don't do that. And then you don't need ownership on pointers. Yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of factually correcting anything in the thing, although there might be inaccuracies. It's just not presenting it as the thing that it actually is. So I need to write something where I present it as the thing that it actually is. Okay. How many lines of code is the compiler? Well, it's getting pretty thick. It's the compiler is over 50,000 now, so we're almost GCC sized, and the game is like 87 to 135. How much is GCC? I don't even know these days. Let's see. GCC lines of code. I mean, it keeps going up. You can. Why do I do that? This is old. It was 14.5 million in 2015. Let's try 2019. I mean, I think people stopped counting around 15 million. I don't know. How many did we remove in the cleanup? Not that many, maybe like 150. But they were a good 150 to remove. Wasn't it 40K 2 days ago? No, it's been hovering around 49,000 for like a year. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to support an architecture, depending on what it is, it could be a lot of work. Like, if you wanted to just have a program running on something, it's not that bad. If you want to do like architecture specific intrinsics or something, that's more work. You know, operating system specific APIs and stuff, well, you know, you need to make those bindings. If you want pointers to not be 8 bytes, wow, that's a fair amount of work. Because for now, we just assume that our target architecture is 8-byte pointers. I mean, certainly we could support other than that, but that would be some work. Does Go Bananas still work? I haven't tried it in a while. It's probably out of date with regard to some code that it uses or something. Also, I don't include LLVM. That's true, but we run without LLVM, and I would much rather LLVM be a lot smaller than it is. Is Haskell more related to Java or C? It's more related to Java because H is 2 letters from J and more letters from C. All right. So well, so this thing, we do this thing called gen lambda, which is the lambda that we generate for the modify. I guess we create it there. So we make the arguments block. Where are we here? We're in parser. Wow, this is really not the right place to do this, but okay. See, okay. We just copy the type instantiation. Okay, this is major. We're going to defer this till later because before I can actually fix this, we have to move where it happens. Because this is happening in the parser, which is not the right place. You want to do this after type checking. And the reason you want to do this after type checking is because that's when you will know what the type of the thing is. Like this type instantiation that we have here, we shouldn't care about that. This is just not the right way to do this. This code was written in 2016, right? We need to, yeah, we need to move where all that happens. That probably won't happen in this beta. Okay. So we're going to say fix this by changing where modify gen lambda gets created and filled out. This is also good because the reason I said even immediately that this is not the right way to do this is you don't want to do semantic-ish stuff like this, like desugaring this modify into a thing that builds a procedure and stuff. You don't want to do that in the parser because that means you can't do it when something comes in from the syntax tree modifications. So we're going to defer that one till later, but and it'll be in 2 steps. One step, step 1, just move where it happens and get that working. Step 2, don't copy the type inst. We don't care about that. Just use declaration inferred type. Step 2 should be easy after step 1. Step 1 is the big one. If I were to write a compiler again, what would I do differently? I would just go faster to what I know today. I would skip over, like, what I have today is pretty good. I mean, there's minor things that I would change. Well, there's structural things that I think I want to change, but I don't know yet, right? I want to experiment with that. But like the stuff that I did the past few weeks of removing the dependency system and stuff, that was like removing a system that was implemented when I didn't know better about how this would be, right? So I would just know what the answer is and go straight to that. But that's very common. Like even making video games, like when John Carmack and Mike Abrash were finally presenting how they did Quake to everybody, right? It took them a year and a half to figure out how to do Quake, but they were like, you know, we could do it in a month or 6 weeks from scratch now that we actually know how to do everything. But yeah, it's not like I can't change things to be how I want, right? Most things in this compiler are actually the way that I want them to be. And it is quite possible to change the remaining things. It's just sometimes you don't exactly know what's better yet, and sometimes there's just inertia, sometimes other things are more important. You might supply either a type or a value would be cleaner. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that yet because we're working on this. Internal compiler error is not good to have. Yeah. Cast known to unknown array cannot happen because we did not get a switchable expression pointer. The reason is, well, okay, do we put the error message there? Let's take a look at where this happens. What? Stop it. Stop it. I hate that. All right. Okay. So, check that types match for pointers to things. Okay, so the problem is the actual error that's being made in this is trying to pass an array to like a variable length or a pointer to a variable length array from a fixed array. Like we don't even need this, right? Like this will generate the error. Oh, wait, what did I do? Why did it say procedures missing? That's weird. What? Did I save it incorrectly? What is happening? That's bizarre. Oh, right. This is a... Okay, sorry. I was just getting confused. That's inside there. Got it. That was a procedure missing its body. It's just when people type stuff in syntax, their own syntax or their own formatting, it takes me a second. I'm not a put the brace on its own line kind of guy. Oh, Handmade Hero's done already. Come on, man. There's so much work to do. What are you doing? There's so many planets to colonize and put alien egg farming on. Well, welcome everybody. Casey has to get back to making comic books. Are we testing any of the intermediate steps, or are the tests only to compare outputs? They're mostly only for outputs, and the reason is those testing outputs doesn't affect the internals of your program and doesn't make it giant and bloated and hard to change. And if your outputs are well chosen, then they require complex things to happen internally, and you're really testing the internals. So that I mean, we do use assertions internally, but we don't do this thing where you unit test everything internally. That's like a nightmare. That's a nightmare. You don't want what that does to your software. Okay. I might want to do lunch eventually, but we just got a raid, so we have to push through and keep going. Okay. So here's the problem is, again, we want to give a more helpful error message. Or this is an internal compiler error. So we want to give something that's not an internal compiler error. But we actually want it to be helpful. And the problem is this is one of those cases where we've recursed down and we don't necessarily have outer context. So I think what we do is one of those ... things where we report a more general, less helpful error. And then if it comes from a context where we can provide more help, once we've returned back up, we say, oh, it's because blah. It's because blah. Right? Okay, I'm going to warm up some tea. Anyone who's just shown up, are there any on-topic questions that you would like to know before we dive in? Like questions specifically about what is on the screen. We don't want to do questions about, what do you think of the Tofurky programming language or whatever. That is not on topic. What is on the screen? That's a little too... What is on the screen is characters of text. On screen is on topic. Yeah. I mean, it might be a little too strict, but for right now, when people have just showed up, like they haven't been following along for the past couple hours, so they're not going to know what is on topic beyond what's on the screen. What does it compile? It is a new programming language. So in general, we're trying to fix bugs that were reported by beta testers. Some of those bugs are, crashes or mostly not crashes, but mostly like this thing fails to compile correctly for some reason. Some of them, the easier ones, have been this error message isn't good or this error message isn't really describing the right situation. And so that's what we're doing here. We're actually getting an internal compiler error, but that's just because when I wrote this error message, I wasn't sure if user input could generate it, but it very clearly can, and it's very clearly correct to have this error message, well, not very clearly, but I think pretty clearly, correct to have this error message generated where it is. So first I'm just going to change this to something that's not an internal compiler error. And then we'll describe in a nicer way to the user why. So that is, I don't know where that was. Cast known to unknown. Okay. If we're not silent check, silent check means you're just trying this out, like if it's going to be a procedure overload. You don't want to error in that case. You just want to return false and say this is not possible. If it's not silent check, it means the user is really trying to do this for sure. And you say, cannot cast a fixed size array to a variable sized array. You know, okay, hold on. I have some terminology for this that we decided to standardize on, and what was it? Fixed, view, or resizable. A fixed sized array to an array view or resizable array. Unless, this is where it's hard to phrase, unless it's direct. It can't have a level of indirection. We'll just say when there's a level of indirection in the way, right? And then at the calling site, okay, that's not the calling site, it's backward. And I don't have iSearch backward bound in Emacs. Okay. Here, we recurse down at some point. If we're not matching, you know what? Let's just break here and see exactly. This is a, whoops. This is a big function. So we're just going to break there and see. Okay. So we're doing check that types match here. Right, that's just where I was looking. So then we say, we return false. We say not matching. And then here, we're going to check this. And we report a little bit of extra stuff, right? So you see, now that we've returned, we have the full context that it's a pointer. The problem is when we've recursed down, we've stripped off the pointer and we just have the arrays, right? And so we could say here, we could say in great detail that help people understand the programming language actually. Right, we could say if for this specific case, you say is fixed array get array type, right? That'll tell us so we'll say get array type of this is equal to array fixed. I'm so paranoid about precedence. I'm just gonna, whoops. Just gonna do this. It's just how I do it, even though I'm pretty sure that's right. That's fine. So in this case, we say, sorry, bro. No, we say report info. This is going to print out the location again. We'll turn that off in a minute. Let's just get the message out there. Report info site. This is because the conversion from a fixed array to a non-fixed array requires the creation of a temporary value that stores the count and data pointer of the fixed array, or of the array view. But a pointer to the original fixed array, I don't know how to say this. It's like so fundamental. A pointer to the original fixed array would be skipping over. A pointer prevents the creation of this temporary value, because the pointer just points to the original. I don't know, like, sometimes it's very hard to know what to say. Let's just get that in there. Is non-fixed array, well, the thing is, it could be, I'm saying non-fixed because it could be array view or it could be array resizable. You know. Oh, it's not that, it's that. All right, I knew way back when I did this that I was going to confuse myself all the time. All right. Okay, well, we didn't, oh, we ran the release compiler, so that's a thing. Debug, debug. Okay, this is because the conversion from a fixed array to requires the creation of temporary value. If anyone has suggestions on how to phrase this better, that's fine. Now I want this not to appear. I forget how to do that. Showing context. Disable showing context. Do I just set that? Yeah. We do this. Okay, we're just going to do this. But the other way around. We're going to disable that. We're going to do this. And I don't remember under what conditions we do disable showing context otherwise. And that's probably a system that's going to change at some point. You guys can't tell this, but like when I copy and paste anything into this buffer, Emacs is just like slow. It takes a noticeable fraction of a second. Because it's an 11,000 line file. Oh my God. It's like maybe even half a megabyte of data. Let's see how big this file is in bytes. Typer.cpp. Oops. It's a half a megabyte. I got it right. It's the year 2020. I have a new desktop PC, which was delivered to me in the year 2020, that cost like $3,000 at least. And I can't edit in Emacs in real time a file that's half a megabyte. No, pasting no, I'm not talking about pasting half a megabyte. I'm talking about pasting 10 characters into the middle of half a megabyte. Okay? Dude, I can copy half a megabyte. I don't know how many frames per second I can copy half a megabyte of data on this PC, but it's a lot of frames per second. This software is so broken, right? And yet the people who make Emacs will be all like, oh, we use buffer gaps so it's fast. Or it's like, no, it's not fast. This system altogether that you have built is not fast. What is not fast about it? Maybe it's C++ mode is taking all the time. I don't know. But yeah. How much do you want to bet if this were translated into a native language instead of frickin' eLisp that it wouldn't be tremendously faster? This is just where we are today. You're guessing it's the syntax highlighting? Maybe. But it's so funny because everybody who's talking about they're going to make a new editor is all like, should I use buffer gaps? Or like, I'm smart, so I'm going to use ropes or whatever. And it's like, dude, that's not the problem. I can copy the entire data of this file so many times per second. That is not the problem. What would be the best way to make a function that takes as argument a pointer to either a fixed size array or a variable size array? Well, it depends what you mean. Why would you do that? Like, this code that's in our example didn't need that. It's a weird thing to do. He was doing this because of like C-style habits and stuff. You don't do this. If you want to pass an array and set an element, you can just do that, first of all. Secondly, a pointer to a fixed size array and a pointer to a variable size array, that's different underlying data. And so it's unclear what your function is going to do. B. C, you can just make it polymorphic and say the type is $t, and that'll work, and you'll get either of those things. But again, the question is, what are you going to do that's productive with that? You know what I mean? It's a weird thing to do. But that's why I didn't do it, because it's a weird thing to do, and that's the value of beta testers, is they do things that are weird, and then they hit all your code paths. Let's put a new line after this. I mean, it's weird, like what's the policy on where do new lines go and stuff, but let's just do that because it'll make it look like less of a wall of text. Let's put a new line before. Okay. Improve the error message that happens when you try to pass a fixed array by pointer to a variable array argument. Variable sized array argument. It was an internal compiler error, but should not have been. I cannot type today or any day, dude. Okay. That's great. Let's make sure we didn't break nothing. Do I think every programmer should at least read a textbook about computer architecture? If you are a programmer for your job, like your job description is I am a programmer, then yes, absolutely. It doesn't even have to be a book. It could be like a game about computer architecture that's fun to play or something, but yes. If you like happen to program, but you're really like, you know, a molecular biologist and you do stuff in Jupyter notebooks or whatever, then no, right? If you're a JavaScript programmer who works at Facebook, you're going to be fired in 10 years, so it doesn't matter. So you better learn some skills so that you'll have a job in 10 years. Am I referring to TIS? Maybe, but I mean more like something new, like something that's strict, that's made to be an educational game about computer architecture. I think a lot of people would play that. Okay, so that worked. That worked. We're still going. We're still going. Okay. Improve an error message. Okay, we've cranked through like 4 of these or 5. I don't know. I don't know how many. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, at least 4. That's not as many as I wish it were. Okay. This claims the compiler crashes, which is bad. I'm wondering if I fix that. This might already be fixed. Nope. We do have an assertion, though. That's great. We are calling need size to build, and it's not a Lambda body. Okay, that's easy enough. The question is, would we report an error there? Would we report an error there later? Like, do we just need to defend against this? Or what? So here, let's just temporarily do this. If it's not a Lambda body, return no check-in. No check-in. Okay, so we're just going to do that. Which editor is slower, Visual Studio or Emacs? The answer is Visual Studio, but it's not by that much of a margin. Wait, what? Really? Where are we? Oh, I meant to change this to not equal, and fucking let me select one character. Editors that try to be smart are so, it's like trying to be smart in SnapMe, and like no matter how hard I try, I can't click between the characters and just select the one I want to change. Like, let me edit my text file. The job of an editor is to let me edit my text file, guys. Okay. I don't know anything about Jupyter Notebooks, so I can't rant about Jupyter Notebooks. Like literally, the job of this program is to let me edit the characters, and it so often doesn't. There are so many cases in which it doesn't let me edit the characters. It drives me nuts. Okay. Why don't I write an editor on stream as a demo project? Because, I mean, we already sort of have an editor. Like in the game, we have a console that's multi-line and stuff. Like, I can open it and type some things, and I can select and copy and paste and delete sub-ranges and delete in the middle. And we have autocomplete, right? So like help. Whoops. Okay, our help command is not that good, but like I can hit A and it shows me what that completes to. Like this is basically an editor. It's just not like a editor for this exact purpose. But like I did that mostly on stream. So if you didn't watch those streams, then I don't know what to say. I actually don't know why our help command requires a frickin' argument. What is that all about? Provides help about, okay, we're going to fix this right now. Provides help about the given command. We're going to output all the commands. If no command name. We're going to output all the commands, right? So we're going to say command output list of commands, right? Boom. For commands, command output oh, we could actually do, we could just do it here. Commands. And we're just going to have it be the same print right now. Okay. So let's compile that, run that. Did I see command list? Whoops, I broke that. This should be it.name. You shouldn't have to remember that. Like, I shouldn't have to know that that's a thing, right? Let's just delete that. It should just be help. Like you shouldn't, like there's no, you know, how are you supposed to know that the command is command list if you don't know, right? I need to put it.name again. Oh, did I? Oh, here, right. Actually, this one was fine either way. It's this one, right? Here you almost want Perl style ore. Ugh, it's so close to wanting to do Perl style ore. In fact, I might honestly do it. What is IFX? It's a feature that we haven't. Okay. Okay. So, help. Bam. Okay, it's a long list of commands. There we go. We don't have help for almost any of them. But that's fine. Maybe now we will be motivated to do that. Oh, you know what? We don't put new lines in these for some reason. Let's put help on a couple of commands. How do I do that? I just put a help string. Help set the global time rate used by the game simulator, right? Pause or unpause the advancement of game time. You know, we also probably want to put the signature of the command. We're going to get off on a tangent today. We're already on the tangent. You know what? We're on the tangent. We're going to do this, and then I'll lunch break, and then we'll come back and whatever. Do I care about const correctness when writing libraries? The phrase const correctness drives me nuts because it's a politically correct phrase in that it overloads, like it implies that you're not correct if you don't use const the way somebody says you should. So it's a bullshit phrase. Therefore, I refuse to even use it. It is a bullshit phrase. Okay. Pause or unpause the advancement of game time. Advanced level. Go forward or backward within the current level set. All right. Campaign. Switch to the campaign of the given name. Collect level names. That's not a command. Level info. Show extended info. Information about all levels in data levels, in the data levels folder. Okay. That's not commands. Level entry check. Check that the overworld contains a level entry for each level in a non-draft level set. And you need to know what that means. Find levels that don't have an author listed in the ocean maps. Designers slot. We actually should have a modeler slot as well. I don't know what those are. Of the given name. Send an animation message to every guy in the level. Save your campaign. Oh, save your current levels and do history. Load your current levels, undo history. Copy the name of the level you just finished into the clipboard. Give your character this many gems. Good thing I know what all these do, huh? Wow. Toggle the ability to walk through walls. A programmer-only munge command that does very heavyweight operations on every entity in the game. Use with caution carefully. Recompute the window size. All right, this might be enough for now, right? We could do more of this later. Utility routine that programmers often edit to check levels for errors. That's pretty good. Okay, so we're going to compile that. We're going to run that. And now if I say help, well, we get more help. You know, in a more advanced version, we'd print these in different colors and stuff, but I'm not going to do that right now. I think it's more helpful. I think it's more helpful to print this in a different format. I think we want to say what the arguments are, and then on the next line, put the description. Because this doesn't really tell you everything. All right, so I could say help gems now, gives your character this many gems. And I could start set, and my auto completion will cycle through them all. It's an editor. Just column align. Oh, column align the descriptions? Yeah, maybe. But I want the information to be there. I want the information about what the arguments are. And I don't exactly remember how to get that, so okay. Could have help command give specific details on parameters? That's true. Maybe you don't want to know it. Maybe it would be too much information in the full list. Right? Examples might help. Yeah, I mean, I could see putting the example data. Okay. You know, Sokoban like isn't even updated in a while. Let's like update this so that when we go to check it in, yeah, okay. Let's try just putting the information here. Okay, so what is commands? Okay, so show command info is going to be info, is command info, right? Okay. First, we're just going to print out oh no. Guys. We cannot, okay, here's the thing. We do not give you the type of the procedure yet. So I cannot actually tell you this. Let's supply that. We need to generate this in the metaprogram because the metaprogram generates code that does the type checking and then calls the procedure. Like it does all this stuff. And so let's say type info is a pointer to type info procedure. Oh, that's a keyword. So I guess we're going all the way to the metaprogram. Okay, let me just make sure like we updated it so God only knows what happened. Okay, type info proc. Now, where do we do this? Commands to register, generate code for commands. So we probably call add command. Okay, so add command. Here we go. This takes the new, this is like we generate a procedure that parses the arguments and calls the original procedure. So we'll say original proc type is a type info procedure, okay? And then info.type info proc is original proc type, okay. Because this is the type of the generated proc where we kind of destroy all the type information. So it's a good thing I wrote all this because I know how it works. Okay, so when we call add command, we say which argument is that? So the name, the generated procedure, okay, and then here is going to be type info it.name. That should be it, honestly. Where even, oh, we were editing a totally different thing. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Let's try this. Oh, I messed it up. Oh, type info it dot, right. Okay, here, wow, this is not a good place for that. Okay, let me write that down. Our new error message is not good in this context. See? See, it's not always so easy. We're going to have to come back to that one after lunch. Okay, so it's type info it, right? Is this just the procedure? No. Wait, what? It dot. Oh, we have it. Oh, wait, whoa. Okay. No. I confused myself. This is... Okay. I'm doing so many things wrong. This is it.name twice. Okay? And in fact, once this works, we're going to be sly. All right? So this is type info here in the string, bro. Boy, this is really not the right error message. We really didn't do a good job on that one. So, okay, let's look at what this file. So this is the meta program that's generating code that gets compiled. This is the text of what we generated, right? Oh, I have to say type of. Dude, I should learn my own programming language. I should get good. Incompatible structs. Wanted type info procedure. Really? I thought that was supposed to, well. Okay, wait, what line was that on? Am I giving it anything messed up? 592. This looks fishy to me. Like, is that accidentally an overload? Like, what is it? It's an overload, bro. I'm just going to do this. All right, let's just do this. That's fine. Okay, that works just great. So all I did was make this not enough. The reason is, so the type of an overload is not a procedure because it could be any of the procedures. It's got its own special type. That's not helpful when you want to show people this type. Okay, the point being, back in the lab, back in our own program, where we're trying to print out all this stuff, we should have this information now. If I remember to assign it, which I think I did. And so in show command info, right? I'm just going to be super lazy right now and go print 4 spaces % new line info. That's going to be a bunch of spam. Oh no, not info. Info dot type info proc. That's going to be a bunch of spam, but it'll show us that the information is actually there, and then we can talk about formatting it, right? Uh-oh. Oh, okay. I was like, why is it taking it so long? Is it crashing? It's because we updated the game, and it's like reprocessing assets and stuff. All right. Help. And then we'll help. We should pick one. Help save. Okay, we're not printing anything. Oh, because we're calling print and not command output, bro. So we're printing it to standard out. But you can see it's a procedure. It has no arguments. Let's pick a more interesting. Let's find a command that's more interesting. Right. Something with arguments. A lot of these don't have any arguments. In editor commands, that's another file, we probably have some. Find material, that takes an argument. I want one with multiple. Give me an interesting one. I want at least 2. There we go. Command ocean. No help available. But in the output, it's a procedure. It has 4 arguments. Okay. Help create a new ocean map entity. Destroying the old one if necessary. Replacing. Replacing sounds nicer. Replacing. Okay. So now we can get help about the ocean. So I'm going to go builder is a string builder. Command report builder to string builder, right? And then we're going to go for type info proc dot arguments, right? Argument types, it's called. Okay, the problem is we're still not we're only exporting the types from the metaprogram, so we can't say what the default values are and stuff. We may want to do that actually, but later. For now, the meta only exports the types, not the default values, etc. Probably we should just generate this command info string inside the metaprogram and not worry about the type info here. This is the only thing we need it for. Okay. That's fine though, because whatever code we write right here, we can put back in the metaprogram. Print to builder. If it index is not equal to 0, add a space. Actually, if it is equal to 0, if it's equal to 0, else whatever. And it's going to be 4 spaces just to indent. Is that 4? Okay. Otherwise, just 1 between the arguments, right? And then print to builder. We're just going to print the type. Come on, bro. Oh, I promised something tricky, too. We'll do the tricky thing. For info.typeinfoproc. Procedure call. Oh, format string. Okay, never mind. Oh, I'm not putting the builder, first of all. And let's just go append. Let's just do this. Bringing out the full machinery of print is not necessary. Okay. Now what? Oh, I keep, okay. Command report. Oh, wait, command, is it not called command report? Command output. Okay, great. We're going to go look at the ocean like we wish we could during quarantine. Help ocean. Okay, well, we printed some pointers. I hope you enjoyed those pointers. Okay, we don't need this anymore. I hope you enjoyed those pointers. So this thing takes a type info pointer and does it. Print type to builder. Oh, we don't do the format. Every second year CS student ever. Dude, at Berkeley, you had to be down with pointers in the first semester or you fail. Okay, sort of. I mean, in scheme, but whatever. Help ocean. Bam. S64, S64, bool, bool. Okay. Problem is, we don't have the names and stuff right now. We're going to leave this there because this is getting pretty far away. I wanted to do some improvement here, you know. This is not the right place to do this, though. We should do this in the meta program. I'm going to write that down on the list of things to do. Improve, command, help, further. And this will be nice because this is part of what we distribute to people when we give out the engine. So that's great. Why did I edit this? Oh, geez, let's not check that in. That's fine. That's fine. Let's double check this. Okay. Great. There's more CS programs these days that are just pushing students into JavaScript and React. Yep. You added a help to toggle no clip. I think it was not a command. Quite possibly. Oh yeah, this is a key map function. Okay. Great, we're not going to check that in. We'll check that in next time we do something there. All right, it's just about lunchtime for me, but let's at least go back and get a little bit into the flow of what we claim to be doing, which is working on this error message. Well, it's not even an error message, working on this assert. Okay, so the assert is the following thing. When we do an imperative statement, we need to make sure that the procedure that imperative statement is inside knows everything about the types that it's going to be generating code for, right? So like make vector 4 returns a vector 4. So if this is inside the body of a function, that function better know what vector 4 is, right? So we put this in a list like, oh, vector 4 is a thing that we need to know about. The problem is we're trying to do that and this isn't in a function. Well, it's not in a function because this is not a thing that you could actually say legally. And so the question is, do we just keep commenting this stuff out and hope that that happens, or do we bubble the message to the place that's having the problem? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's the best way to do it. Honestly, oh, this is a different one. This is similar but different. This is a known callee check. Okay. We're just going to put the error here for this. If it's not a lambda body, else we're going to report an error. This is in procedure call. Attempt to perform a procedure call outside the body of another procedure. Calls and many other imperative statements, imperative expressions can only happen inside procedure bodies. And then report info, just in case they thought it was like a struct declaration or a macro or something, we give them the place that we are calling. Here is the procedure that is being called. All right? Great. So, now that might not be the only crash, honestly, but, oh, okay. Attempt to perform a procedure call outside the body of another procedure. Calls and many other imperative expressions can only occur. Happen is weird. Let's say occur inside procedure bodies. Here's the procedure that is being called. Yeah. Attempt to call. Okay. And then we report it again. Let's only report that one. It's quite likely we may have reported an error earlier in a known callee list addition or need type to build. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do that. So only report this error if we are not already erroring. Okay. Did we break anything? Hopefully not. Okay. Well, everybody, it's lunchtime for me. We're going to come back from lunch and continue to attack these problems, such as this one doesn't look that bad. This one, hopefully already fixed, but not sure. This one could be frickin' brutal. Wait, is that the same one? No, this one, I guess this is the thing. This circular dependency errors are brutal, but sometimes they're not that bad. We did a couple yesterday. Import inside macro, operator, yeah, okay. It starts getting ugly toward the bottom. I don't know if we'll do all of them today, but we'll do most of them, maybe. Oh, before we go, I think I played The Long Dark like 5 years ago. Is that the snow one? We gotta document fixed newly introduced compiler crash when you use an imperative expression in a data scope. Okay, look at how many things that have happened since April 28th. It's a lot of things. Fix a crash, provide a better error message relating to those conditions. Okay. Boom. Oh no, I've got a no check-in. Where is it? Where did I put? Oh, right, this one? Yes. So we're just going to say this happens if you attempt to use an imperative expression in a data scope. For now, we just deflect the problem and return, believing that the error will be reported elsewhere, and we don't want to add redundant error reporting elsewhere. However, we could report an error here if we want to. Bamity bam. Now we'll double check, make sure we didn't typo. We commit. Bamity bam. Great. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming by. Might be a stupid question, but since you're writing a game and making language at the same time, and if something changes in languages, does it hugely affect your game's code base? There can be effects of that sometimes right now, but we usually try to sync them up so it's not a problem. Let's see if there's someone to raid. Again. Who's doing science and technology? This is game dev. Let's fixing bugs found. ASM and Go. 6502, and that's weird. Why would you use a garbage collected language in 6502 at the same time? Code with Friend Live. Let's see what programming language this is. Is this like, it's on an Apple, so oh, it's Swift? I mean, Swift is not as bad as JavaScript, so we could do that. Propeller MCU debug. Does any of this like look especially good to people? What's going on? Don't host anyone who uses the word code. Well, code I don't object that much to. It's when people call themselves coders that really is a red flag. Someone said Zorkenheimer does good, cool stuff. Yeah, we could do that. Like, this looks like he's actually, you know, oh God, I don't know if I need to see that. But he's actually working on a game that's like significant at this point as opposed to just starting or something, and that makes a good raid. All right, thanks everyone for coming by, and I'll see you later.